and welcome to another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. I am Gary Mack, and I'm joined, as always, by the talented, the wonderful, the great Mr. Rich Baxter of Fighting Phillies. Rich, how are you?
All right, Gary. Thanks so much for the introduction. That was awesome. I hope I can live up to that. The great, the awesome. Well, thank you very much. Doing well. End of August already. We're a week away from Labor Day. Does it seem possible?
It doesn't, Rich, and what is it, like 34, 35 games left? I think, at least I think that's what the Mets announcer said the other night. I have to add them up, and my math skills aren't that great. But the season is winding down, and it's hard to believe.
Yeah. We waited all winter last year for it to show up, and then finally did, even delayed, as we talked about on the last show, pushing the season into November for the World Series. But it's starting to look like it's getting close to playoff time.
It is, and some of the races are tightening up and getting very interesting, and but we still got a lot of baseball to go. So it's going to be a nice stretch run for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I was at a game last night. Bryce Harper returned to the Phillies, and he didn't let the hometown crowd down. He hit a two RBI single, scored a couple runs, so it was so nice to see Bryce Harper back for the Phillies. Of course, they need him for his offense and defense and stuff like that. But over in New York, you had a little surprise today.
Well, we had a big surprise today. The Mets had something that they didn't do in 30 years, roughly 28 years, something like that. They had an old timers day, Rich. And, a lot of teams used to do old timers day, and it's kind of gone out of favor. The Yankees still do it, they've done it continuously. But the Mets hadn't had one since 1994, and they decided to do it today. And it was really fantastic. Um, they had some guys from every era. This is the 60th anniversary of the Mets. And, there's some history there. And we've kind of lost touch with our history as Met fans with the Wilpons there. But the new owner, Steve Cohen, wants to bring back a lot of the old players and stuff. And they had, some guys from the 62 team. And, the scary part about it is I saw these guys play. Now I was a kid. I was 10 or 8, 9 years old then when the Mets started. But I do remember these guys, and to see them now when they're 85 years old, and one guy, Frank Thomas, not the Frank Thomas from the Chicago White Sox, the other Frank Thomas,
The
90,
original.
the original Frank Thomas. He's 93. He was there with a walker on a walker, and some of these other guys. It was just really very incredible, and I guess I don't know if you, as you get older, you get more emotional, but it just brought me back to my youth, and it was great to see these guys throughout the era, and even on some of the bad teams, and on up to Mike Piazza. The surprise that you mentioned, and nobody had, it was no inkling of this at all, nothing in the press, nothing. They retired a number, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
retired number 24 for Willie Mays. Now, uh, Willie Mays played for the Mets for 2 years in the 72 and 73. He was 41 and 42 years old then. He was past his prime, but you saw some of there was still sparks of the greatness that Willie Mays was, and I've seen him play when he was younger, in the early '60s, and 10 years before when he was in his prime. So, but it was a complete shock to everybody when they said they were gonna The way they did it was they had this number as you see on the picture if you're watching the video. They had it covered as they always do, and they said, "Now please pay attention to the video screen. We're gonna have a special um, video tribute or something." And they started to plan it. It was Willie Mays, and I was a little. What, Willie Mays? I mean, we know he played for the Mets and everything, but it's odd that on this old timers day, that they doing this, and then of course, then they announced that they were retiring the number, so then it all made sense. But it was a great thing, and Willie was not there. He's 91 years old. He's got glaucoma. He doesn't travel much anymore, but his son was there, and what a big thrill! It was a great thrill, and another number joins the Mets ranks, and this is what this new owner is trying to do. He's trying to honor those uh, that have come before. And actually, one of the reasons they did this was that 50 years ago, the original owner of the Mets, Mrs. Joan Payson, she had promised Willie Mays that when the Giants left New York, she said if we ever get another franchise in New York, and she was part of it, she would bring him back to New York. Well, it took her 10 years to do it, but she finally was able to bring Willie Mays back to New York. And she said that when he retired, she would retire his number so nobody else would ever wear it. Well, unfortunately, life doesn't work that way. He retired, but she passed away and was ill in the meantime, and it never got done. So it took 51 years or so, but Steve Cohen, the new owner of the Mets, decided to live up to this promise that was made, to keep this promise. And thank goodness he's still alive, Willie Mays, so he could, he knows that it was done. But
Yeah.
that's basically the story behind it. And they picked this first old timers day that they, as I said, haven't had in 30 years, 28 years, and to do it. And it was a wonderful conclusion to the whole day. They just did the whole thing, was really well done. Even the game was fun. These guys can't run, but they're laughing and stuff. And
Yeah. They
um,
actually played a game on the
yeah,
field.
they actually played 2 innings,
Wow.
and it was they actually had a guy pitch, Steve Dillon. He played in 3 games in the major leagues for the Mets. Uh, uh, and he's 79 or 80, 79. He actually
Hmm.
went out and threw a couple of pitches
Wow.
during the game, and so that was a big thrill. Who cares? you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they did things like that. Al Leiter was pitching to Mike Piazza, and he couldn't find home plate, and Piazza said, "Oh, ball four," and he's walking off the first, and they're waving him back. No, and they made him keep hitting until he hit the ball.
Yeah.
So it was fun things like that.
Now, did they have that on the local media on the TV for the home fans, or?
Oh yeah, we saw the whole
Oh,
thing. It was on
oh, okay.
SNY,
Yeah.
which is their channel here in New York. And it started actually they started their coverage at 3:30, and the introduction started at 4:30. Yeah, they had the whole ceremony, a whole pregame. They were interviewing people. It was really well done, and so nice to see a lot of these guys. And I think we've talked about it before, but there are certain players that were not stars of the magnitude of a Willie Mays, but they became fan stars or fan favorites, and you still, are still beloved to the fans because they may have hit a game winning home run or something. But they didn't necessarily were all stars or anything. And one of those guys was Benny Agbayani. If a lot of people remember him from the late '90s, early 2000s, he was with the Mets
Hmm.
from Hawaii, and he was just a colorful guy, and he hustled, and people fell, in love with him, and they used to. He won a couple games with hits, and then they used to play uh, the Elton John song "Benny and the Jets," but they would change it to "Benny and the Mets" whenever he came up, and so it was. He got a very loud ovation because people remembered him. They loved Benny Agbayani, just the name Agbayani. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It used to be
the
the.
flying Hawaiian almost.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just guys like that are folk heroes to your particular team. Sure, Philadelphia has them. Uh, you know, every team has them, and I was struck by the absence, and I don't know. No, I can't say I watched every second of the coverage, so I may have missed it. But I was struck by the absence of David Wright at today's event. Now, maybe they announced that he couldn't make it because he had a conflict of some sort. I don't know. I did not hear anything, but I was struck, as I said, by definitely his absence. But it was a terrific day, and very nice for these guys at 85 years old. That that guy Steve Dillon, he pitched in 3 games.
Hmm.
Um, they had Jay Hook there, who's 85, and he was the first Mets pitcher to get a win. Um, so it's thrilling for these guys that didn't have the 20, 30 year careers, not 30, but 20-year career, long careers like some of them. Um, and Steve Dillon was interesting because not only was he only pitched in 3 games, when he knocked around for a couple more years and then retired and became a New York City cop.
Hmm.
So that was a fascinating story I had never heard about, and then they had the Keith Hernandez and Darryl Strawberry and the big well-known name guys were there as well. Uh, but it was really a great day, and then of course the surprise was like I said, the retirement of Willie Mays' number, which totally came out of the blue.
Yeah, must have kept that under wraps. And while you were talking, Gary, I did a little research on your
There
third
you go.
baseman there, David Wright, and why Andy Martino says he did not participate in this old timers day. It says that he's only in his 30s, so he really doesn't feel quite like an old timer, quote unquote. Even though it would have been
Wow.
nice, for them to have him there. He will participate down the road. It says, but didn't feel like he was an old timer at 30 something.
Well, Daniel Murphy was there, and how old is Daniel Murphy? He's not.
Yeah.
He's in his late 30s as well,
And
and
I think they changed the names of that from old timers to not give it sort of a stigma type of thing for certain players, including probably David Wright. Different
now the
teams.
Mets called it old timers.
Yeah, I mean some teams in later years, they used to do it in the 70s. All kinds of teams did that. Old timers day. It was,
Right,
not a
right.
bad thing. But nowadays, everything's so politically correct. You got to almost call it an alumni game or something like that. And then these
Yeah,
players don't feel like old timers. They feel like they're part of an alumni. The Phillies
yeah.
went to alumni, and of course, they don't even play a game on the field. But it was probably a thrill to see all those old players for Mets fans.
And it was a big thrill to see him on the field. Even though I mean, there was some guys that looked like they could still play. Andy Chavez, if you remember from 2006, who made the catch in the playoff game there. Um, he can still go get him. He's in great shape. Mookie Wilson from the '86 team went back and made a nice play. on a fly ball. He can still move. He looks in pretty good shape still. Some of them are not in good shape.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of them, have not missed the line in the buffet line. Have not missed much. So, but it's fun to see them, and I get touched, I guess, maybe because I'm up there now in age, and you kind of, I don't know. It's good to see. The other thing, John Stearns was there, who's battling cancer, and John Stearns, of course, played with the Phillies as well. Um, really is did not look well. He's like a skeleton.
Mm.
Uh, but he was there, and he was there, and they said he told some of the guys he's going to fight the cancer, like he did everything else, and he seemed to be enjoying himself. So other than his physical appearance, it was everybody said it was great to see him there because weren't sure whether he was going to make it to the game at all. But yeah, it was. Eh, I always liked it. I can remember as a kid hopping on a sun on a hopping on a train, going to Shea Stadium for Old Timers Day, and they'd have like you know guys from like, well, in those days we thought the 30s and the 40s. This was in the late 60s and early 70s, and then have guys from the 40s and 50s that were retired, and they were ancient, and they'd come out, and then they'd have themes sometimes. They'd have the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants. That was one of the first couple of ones that they had,
Mm.
and then they would have themes like that and stuff. But I can remember like the seeing some old guys in a, who was it? It was the Big Poison and Little Poison, the Wayner brothers that played for Pittsburgh, and they came out and they were all shrinked over and everything. But I just thought it was the coolest thing because I read about these guys, and wow, here they are in person. Okay, they're 80 years old now, but
Yeah.
it's just the neatest thing to actually see them and to see the joy on their faces, to have people cheer for them again. It was really, and that's the way it was today too.
Yeah, that's cool. Very glad to hear it up in New York at City Field, a beautiful venue for baseball. Happened to have the chance to go up there a couple weeks ago. Always a nice time going up there. I just wanted to pass along a comment. One of our viewers, he's a local guy. I talk with him in person. He wants us to be more exciting. He says, I want a
More
little more
exciting.
controversy. Speaking of old timers, he's an old timer. So, but
Look,
he wants a
I think.
Stephen A. Smith type of show, yelling, screaming. He's like, you guys
Well,
have put me to
damn it!
sleep. Gosh darn it. Gary,
Gosh
tell him the
darn it!
real
This
story, will
season.
you?
Well, them damn Braves. I hope they wish they'd stop winning.
Yeah,
You know,
really.
I mean, come on.
Hope they break a leg.
Yeah. They got
Like
your Phillies. I hope your Phillies better beat them now.
Christopher Russo does the MLB
Mikey.
talk show, so he, you know,
We will try to be, but it hasn't been a controversial year. I mean, I think part of the problem could be this year is that both our teams are having relatively good years, so we're relatively calm about the whole thing and hopeful. So there's nothing to be controversial about it. I think we've had some controversial topics come up that we've taken a stand on, but um, you know, um, we will try to be more controversial, whatever.
more interesting, according to him. Stop putting me to sleep, he says. So,
Oh well,
all right,
okay.
we'll take the
Well, wake up.
constructive. Yeah, we'll take the constructive criticism. Thank you very much. And Bob, you know who you are if you're listening to the show.
Wake
So,
up, Bob.
yeah, thank you very much. But getting back to our podcast there and our little segue into, being a little more interesting, let's go over some of the standings before we get too far into the show and we don't have a time to do it. I'll put them up on the screen here, Gary, for the American League, and we'll walk through them here as we're getting close to playoff time again, as we said. Why don't you take the American League?
Well, those damn Yankees, they're in first place still. Come on, Tampa Bay. Come on,
Or,
somebody.
or as Christopher Russo would say, those damn Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody stop them. All right, we better
And
stop.
their lead is down though. They have been struggling as of late, but 6-4 over the last 10. But they've won 5 in a row, amazingly. So they have a 9 game lead over the Tampa Bay Rays and a 9.5 game lead over the Toronto Blue Jays. How about those Baltimore Orioles, the Rich? They're hanging in there, 66-59. 11.5 games out, but I think the big story is they're above 500. I'm rooting for them to finish above 500 for the year. I want to see them get to 82 wins. Come on, Orioles. I think it'd be great for the game if we could get that franchise going again. In the Central, we got the Cleveland Guardians on top of the Minnesota Twins. And, of course, the Twinkies had to lead most of the first part of the season, but boy, all of a sudden now the Guardians have come on and they've grabbed a 3 game lead. The White Sox are right behind the Twinkies. They're only 4 out. They're a game behind the Twinkies, so that race is tightening up quite a bit, and that's going to be one we'll have to watch. The West, I think it's over. Houston's got an 11.5 game lead over the Seattle Mariners and a 22 game lead over the Texas Rangers. So I think we can say Houston's got that division wrapped up, and they could have right now they've got the number 1 seed with the Yankees and the number 2 seed in the American League. And those are the all important the seeds that you want are 1 and 2 because then you don't have to get into that wild card fight at all, and you want to stay in that 1 and 2. So uh, I think those 2 teams will be there. And Rich, let's move over to the National League.
Yeah, and as a friend brought up to my attention the other day, there's 3 wild cards in each league this year. So we had 1 at one time, and we have 2, and now we have 3. So there's almost like hockey. A lot of these teams are going to get into the playoffs that necessarily may have not made it years ago, and going to be interesting. But in the NL East, the Mets, you know them very well, Gary. They're holding on to a lead all of a sudden. They got a 2 game lead over the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta's been surging lately, and a 9.5 game lead over the Phillies. So it looks like a dog race here to the end for the Mets and the
Mm-hmm.
Braves. Possibly the Phillies if they can keep winning. They've been playing some soft teams. They're on a 5 game win streak. They're winning tonight. If things go well, it could be 6 games for them, and they've got a 91.4% playoff chance. So I think you're going to see the Phillies in the playoffs this year for the first time in 10 years.
I think the
So,
Phillies will make the wild card. They're,
yeah.
they're what's going to be tough with the division is that they're done with the Mets, so they don't have to play the Mets, which is good for them because the Mets beat them 13 times, I think, or 14 out of 19. Um, but they do have a bunch of games with the Braves, so that
Yeah.
could be they could make up some ground there. But it'll be tough for them being 9.5 back. It could be done, but it'll be tough for them to catch the Mets. I believe just because they're not going to play them head on.
Yeah, the Phillies will end the season. Last game of the season is at home anyway against the Braves, and they got that series with them. So that could be an interesting series, between, not to say that they're chasing them down for the lead in the NL East, but maybe they'll play spoiler for the Mets and beat the Braves in the last series. It could come down to that. So we're keeping an eye out on that. Still roughly a month away for that. But over in the NL Central, it's the St. Louis Cardinals with a comfortable 6-game lead over the Brewers. And out west, it's the Dodgers. I get an update on the Dodgers every day on my phone because I like to follow them. But 87 wins for the Dodgers. I think that's the most of any team. In fact, I just scrolled through. Yes, it's the most of any team in baseball. And all they do every day is win.
I know it's boring.
I mean, if you play them in Vegas, money line, you're going to win. You're going to win a lot, more
uh,
so than you would lose. But that's another
I'll
story.
tell you, they are something to reckon with, and the Mets have 3 games left with them, so that'll be an interesting contest. And then the Mets pretty much have, I think, the easiest schedule till the last weekend of the series when they play 3 against the Braves. What we're hoping for here is that the Mets can build a lead and clinch the division before they have to play Atlanta again in the last 3 weeks, the last 3 games of the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, those Dodgers. I mean, it's they're just incredible. It's just tough.
So your wild card teams right now, as it stands in the AL, will be the Tampa Bay Rays, Seattle Mariners, and the Toronto Blue Jays. They would be in if the season ended today. The Orioles are right behind them, believe it or not, Gary.
Hmm.
Wouldn't that be something if the Orioles made the playoffs?
I think that would be great. I mean, I think it would be so good for the game, so good for that city. I just think it would be terrific to have them winning again.
Yeah. Over in the National League, the Braves have a strong hold on a wild card spot. The Phillies plus 2.5, and the Padres. So it'll be those 3 teams. Um, the best 2 teams in each division or each league get the first round bye, and then I think the third team plays one of the wild card teams, and 2 of the wild card teams play together
Hmm.
in the first
Hmm.
round. So best record gets the bye week in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Right, right. Yeah, it should be very interesting. You know, maybe we are live. Uh,
Yeah. So
uh, it
I'll
will
stop
be.
sharing the screen now, but
Yeah,
I keep forgetting.
it will be very interesting. And it's going to be some interesting races, and it makes it well. Like I said, it makes winning the division not only winning it important, but getting as many wins as possible to get situated there. As you said, you don't want to. I don't think anybody wants to be that third spot in the National League right now because you might get the Phillies or the Braves in the playoffs. So you really don't want to be there. Uh, you don't want to play that extra round. So as it is now, as you said, the Yankees and Houston and the Yankees would have the bye in the first round of the American League, and the Mets and the Dodgers and the Mets. Let's keep it in order. Would
Uh,
have the bye in the National League. So, um, it you'd have St. Louis, I think, playing San Diego, and the Braves and the Phillies facing off in the first round of the playoffs. So that
yeah,
that behooves the Phillies to try to beat up on the Braves and get ahead of them if they can in the
yeah,
regular season games that they have left.
yeah. Just brought up one of my favorite pages, baseball-reference.com. And yeah, that's what they say. The first round buys would be the Dodgers, Mets.
Mm-hmm.
Series as it stands now will probably be St. Louis and the Padres, Atlanta versus the Phillies. And I think the Phillies have played Atlanta pretty tough. Over in the American League, the Houston Astros and the Yankees would get the bye. Cleveland would play Tampa Bay, and Seattle would play Toronto. So Seattle going to be back into the playoffs. I think the Phillies and the Mariners have the longest drought of playoff teams of any team. So I think the Phillies are 10 years and Seattle is like 20 years. So those records are going to come down maybe this year.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, that'll be, but that's good for the game to see some fresh teams in.
Yeah,
As long as our teams get in.
that's true. So we want to remind you to check out the baseballtalkradio.com site at baseballtalkradio.com. You can find about 40 or so of the best podcasts on baseball. Gary has a show there called Mets Musings. I have the Phillies Talk podcast. And of course, this show is there. And there's a ton of other shows. We have Baseball and Barbecue with Gary's great friends on that show, Len and Jeff, and Baseball PhD, which is a guy out in Ohio, started that one. Used to be in the politics. He's a lawyer, so you want to check that out, Baseball PhD, and a ton of other shows. So check it out over there at baseballtalkradio.com.
And Rich, how about that Jordan Montgomery? Huh? He's been red hot since getting traded over to St. Louis. And I don't know, is he pitching tonight against the Braves? I'm
Sure.
not sure, but he has been some pitcher since coming. He is pitching, and the Braves are winning again. Damn you!
Darn it!
4-2. Thankfully, the Mets are winning as well. So
Yeah.
that's good. But we want to keep. We want to get some ground here. We want to get some space.
Yep. Absolutely. So hopefully next time we talk and bring you another show, we'll talk a little bit about baseball food. We haven't talked about it all year, Gary. So we're going to have to dig up some good stories on baseball ballpark food around the league. I know I had a wonderful meal. I don't think I got a chance to tell you, but over at City Field, I found chicken marsala. I found turkey, sliced fresh turkey, asparagus. I have a picture of it too, but didn't bring it
That's
for the show.
because you spent the money on them fancy seats there,
Yeah, yeah,
where they
a
got
little
the
bit
club.
more, but yeah, that club was phenomenal, and
And the food's free, right?
yeah, and it exceeded my expectations. I felt there might be some cold hamburgers and hot dogs laying around, but oh
Oh
no, it
no,
was
no.
all fresh, freshly prepared, and I mean the asparagus was awesome. And just in contrast, I'll tell you, me and my good friend went last night to Citizens Bank Park. They don't have hardly anything healthy for you. You can't find a grilled chicken sandwich. You can't find vegetables, a salad. I mean, it's like looking for, Jimmy Hoffa or something. I think one
Rich, it's a
restaurant.
ballpark. Who eats a
Yeah,
salad
but
at a
you have a
ballpark?
lot of people at the ballpark. You have vegans, you have
The
vegetarians.
heck with
You know,
them.
I
Let
had
them
to
eat
bring my own
meat.
salad for crying out
No, you
loud. I had to
can't go
smuggle
to a
my own salad.
you can't go to a ballpark and have a salad. Come
It was
on, Rich.
delicious. I thought I was the king of the mountain eating that
The
salad
hell
right
with your
there.
diet. When you go to the ballpark, you go there to eat junk. That's why
I
you eat
can't.
go ballpark food. You
I can't do
can't
it.
eat a salad.
And the lines for that ballpark food, if you don't get there early there, forget it. We talked to one of the ushers and she told us, yeah, if you want that pizza out there, they have a new place from Jersey that has the pizza. You'll get back here in the third inning, and that was when the ball game was starting. And she wasn't kidding; she was being serious. There was about 150 people in line over there. I don't know, they need more than one outlet, maybe.
That's what I like to go before the gates open. Even I like to go like 2.5 hours early, and I'll wait in the parking lot. And when the gates open, you go in, and that's the best time. That's the
So
best time to go.
We come
But
up with a
everybody thinks
plan.
I
We came up
everybody
with a
thinks I'm crazy because I'd say I want to leave at 3:30, but the game's not until 7. I said, yeah, but
yeah.
it takes you 45 minutes to get there. You gotta park.
We
I
came up
don't.
with a plan. Me
That's
and my me and my girl. If you get a food stand at Citizens Bank Park and you can deliver fresh salads, sliced
oh
chicken,
no!
vegetables, maybe a carrot and celery dip
Oh god!
combo. I mean, come on, Gary. Little juices, healthy stuff. Call it the
Well,
healthy corner or whatever. I guarantee it's going to go over well. I'm betting on it. I'm almost like ready to invest in it.
no, I think you'll have no trouble because there will be no line at that place probably.
Nah, I think it would go over like nobody's business. But we would find out for sure. But
Well, now City Field does have vegan things around,
that's what
and
I mean. They have choices. They get it. They understand the public, quote unquote. Everybody doesn't want a greasy cheeseburger, a big fat cheesesteak. That's
oh come
good,
on,
but
you're making me hungry now.
anyway, we're going to bring you some ballpark delicacies next show for sure. We're going to research it and have the information for you. So,
And I guarantee that none of it will be healthy.
okay, well, I'm going to have to handle the healthy side of things. So,
Okay.
stay tuned, everybody. That's a little teaser for next show. And Bob, you tune in too because you're going to be interested in it too.
Wake up,
So,
Bob.
hey, Bob. All right. You guys all have a great week. We'll talk to you next week on the Baseball Talk Radio Show. Remember, if you want to send Gary an email, it's Gary@BaseballTalkRadio.com. Myself, Rich@BaseballTalkRadio.com. You'll get right to us. Send us a suggestion. Tell your friends about us. Gary, it was another fun show. I can't wait to the next one.
Yes, sir. And we'll see you next time.